Well, folks, it is officially that time of the year where we are going to be brought a million different rumors about what this Buffalo Bills team is expected to do in free agency. And the latest rumor that I wanted to talk about today was the alleged interest in the Buffalo Bills and wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs, Hollywood Brown. Now, spoiler alert, I am not interested in this whatsoever. And I'm going to do you a favor and go through his statistics throughout his entire career, what he can bring to the table if the Buffalo Bills are absolutely adamant on bringing this wide receiver in, what a contract would look like for him based off of market value, and more just for me to convince you that this is not the right move. As many of you guys know, I have been a strong proponent that I believe that we can address the field stretcher or the guy that can separate vertically in the draft. There are several prospects in this draft that can get it done. However, it is a rumor, and obviously we do need to talk about it. Folks, if you are just joining, welcome. If you are watching the replay of this video, I want to remind all of you that I do these episodes live. So if you are subscribed to the channel, I highly recommend you turn on these bell notifications so you never miss an episode. For the remainder of the week, I'm going to be doing a bunch of content as far as how can the Bills pursue Max Crosby, or how can the Buffalo Bills pursue this person, that person, every single free agent that I think would be a relative fit for the Buffalo Bills, or even a free agent where a lot of people are obsessed about bringing into. I'm going to have a dedicated live stream to each and every single one of them. And I always want to hear your thoughts on it. So certainly sound off in the comments section for those of you watching the replay. And let me know who else I should cover. And today just so happens to be Hollywood Brown. All right. We ultimately ended up getting some news here. And again, it's rumors, right? Like, we heard some interview from Josh Allen saying that he would love to play with the likes of Hollywood Brown, what have you. But it is all over the internet. And this is interesting for me. Like, this is very interesting for me because it sounds like what the media is trying to do is run away with the fact that if there was any weakness at all for the Buffalo Bills offense this year, and granted, they were few and far between, guys. We ended up seeing the most successful statistical offense in Buffalo Bills franchise history with the lineup of personnel that we had. We genuinely ended up becoming the highest scoring offense in the NFL, playoffs included. It's an absolute fact, with a James Cook being our RB1 and an assortment of different wide receivers of Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman action, some tight ends, Ty Johnson, our damn RB3, who led a couple of games in receiving yards. It is amazing to this point that we were able to accomplish what we did with the personnel that we had. But one glaring hole that I continue to say is that this Buffalo Bills team, while they were top 5 in passes 20 yards downfield, they were bottom 5 in all of those metrics as far as execution. So what that typically points to is lack of personnel. Sure, we could say that Josh Allen's deep ball was a little off in 2024, but maybe it just had to do with the chemistry that the personnel was unable to establish with QB1. And I'll tell you what, something about Marquise Brown that really doesn't do it for me, right? So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to pull up a couple of red flags that I think that we can see here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up some of his stats from a career standpoint, because as we know, Hollywood Brown for the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason, or this past offseason, hurt himself and he only played 2 games. He had 9 receptions for 91 yards in the regular season, and his overall statistics just were not there even during the playoffs, and largely probably had to do with the injury that he ultimately ended up suffering. But one of the biggest red flags that I'm seeing, and again, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, because I think this Buffalo Bills offense quite literally has that overall identity of everybody eats. However, I'm looking at this, and what I see from Hollywood Brown is only a singular year where he ultimately ended up cracking 1,000 yards. And for the most part, he had a pretty solid career as far as staying healthy. Of course, outside of this season and one season in particular, I want to say it was his first year with the Cardinals where he missed 12 games. Excuse me, he played 12 games and missed the remainder after that. But the fact that he's only cracked 1,000 yards is probably something where I'm like, okay, let's go on ahead and save the money. Because where it stands, according to overthecap.com, the Buffalo Bills are $14 million over the cap, negative $14 million. And that's not the final number. Obviously, we're going to be able to make um, some adjustments with restructures, with cutting some guys, and I'm sure that we'll be in a pretty good position. But as many of us know in this live chat already, our number one priority this offseason needs to be defense. If we are spending any sort of money, sending over any sort of draft capital, any asset that the Buffalo Bills have, and we are doing it in exchange for personnel, has to be, absolutely has to be for a defensive player. Now, this right here, like I said, just one singular year at 1,000 yards and only 8 yards over. That's not what the Buffalo Bills need right here. We genuinely need somebody to line up on the outside of Keon Coleman, on the opposite side of Keon Coleman, and be that field stretcher. Be a guy that has the speed, somebody that's not coming off of a very serious knee injury prior to this. And I just reflect because I put a short video of this up on Instagram and TikTok, and somebody left a comment which absolutely killed me. They said, "This makes absolute no sense," which makes me feel like we're going to do it. And that sounds like something that Brandon Bean would do. But right here, not very impressed. He did tend to go down. Maybe it had to do with the fact that his first couple of years in Baltimore, he was young still, had a great season in Baltimore. But then once he ended up getting to the Cardinals, it was just a bad fit as far as a scheme fit, if you will. And then this year, he's coming off of a pretty serious injury where he didn't ultimately end up being the Hollywood Brown that we know. Now, some benefits, right? Like, what are we looking for, guys? We are looking for a speedster, 4.27 in his 40-yard dash. That's fast as hell, isn't it? That is absolutely fast as hell. A 4.27 40-yard dash is crazy. We would be certainly rolling the dice here. But do you know what this sounds eerily similar to? And something I think you guys will probably punch a hole in your wall once I say this name. It sounds a lot like Curtis Samuel becoming a Buffalo Bill this previous offseason. Like, we were like, oh my God, Curtis Samuel, man. Like, he just hasn't been in the right situation. He's fast as hell. He's great at separating, but unfortunately, him and Josh Allen just weren't able to establish any sort of chemistry. And even if Josh Allen were to come out and say, "Hey, you know what? I would love to play with the likes of Hollywood Brown," I'm not particularly sure that I am going to welcome him onto this roster. I genuinely believe that we can get this done with a third or fourth round receiver that has these similar metrics, right? Again, this Buffalo Bills team was the highest scoring offense, playoffs included, all year. All right. So while this would be a cherry on top of adding a vertical threat right within this offense, and while I think we need to prioritize the defense, give me the drafts 110%. But as many of you know, there's still some of us that are curious, right? Like, we're going to roll the dice. We're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe Hollywood Brown would make a little bit of sense for the Buffalo Bills. Let's go ahead and pull over our handy dandy friends over at Spot Track, where we are going to get a good understanding of what Spot Track has him valued at this point. Now, keep in mind, like I said, he is coming off of basically missing an entire season. All right. Had 9 receptions, 91 yards in the regular season. His playoff numbers were not very impressive whatsoever. But according to Spot Track, we are looking at $8 million average annual salary, 2 years, $15.9 million. Now, this is not set in stone. So, ladies and gents, this right here is just based off of an estimation. Now, Spot Track, I have to give them credit. They are relatively close. I think this is likely what he will go for. But if you were to ask me, I'm going to have to say one thing and one thing only, and that is no thanks. Like, no thanks, right? Like, we are going to be pinching pennies for, I would say, the foreseeable future. Like, we are going to be pinching pennies for a little bit so we can get out of this cap situation that Stephon Diggs created for us, that Von Miller created for us. And if we're going to go out there and if we are going to spend money on anybody significant, It has to be an edge rusher and Myles Garrett. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm trying to manifest this bad boy into existence, as I highly recommend each and every single one of you do as well. Now, right before we get to the chat, I'm going to go on ahead and give a giant shout out right to our proud sponsor today, and that is William Mattar. Folks, if you are hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. Highly recommend that you check these guys out. I never wish this on my worst enemy, but if you are ever in a car accident, you have to have the right representation. And William Mattar has been Western New York and New York's guy from the very beginning. Shout out to William Mattar for sponsoring today's episode, and certainly give him a call in case you were ever in one of those dire situations. All right, look at that, man. 300 of you watching right now, 140 of you on YouTube, and 158 of you on X. Guys, I just ask that if you are watching and enjoying the content that I put out twice a day, Monday through Friday, please just do me a favor and smash that like button. Easiest way to support what I'm doing here. And definitely consider subscribing as well. You know what? We are so close to 40,000 subs. I think that we can genuinely get this going. Let's go to the chat real fast. And then shout out to Craig for sending over a $5 donation. And shout out Craig. Thank you so much, Craig. Guys, I was out of line this morning. I am sorry. Craig, all is forgiven, my friend. All is forgiven, my friend. Thank you so much for that donation. You are the absolute man. Don't take my Hollywood. We have Andy Debates is coming in. I'll be completely honest with you. I am surprised that any Chiefs fan like would miss him, right? Like maybe you're like more so obsessed of what he did in 2020, but he just hasn't been the same player, especially coming off of a very serious injury. And it didn't seem like Patrick Mahomes and or Andy Reid was like even remotely interested in incorporating him into the offense once the playoffs came. So I'll be completely honest with you. I'm good. I would not be celebrating if Hollywood Brown was on this team. I quite frankly think it would be a waste of money. But that is the rumor, and that is what we need to discuss. Releasing Vaughn would create the cap for that move, I believe. Too crispy. He's coming in. He's on board, baby. He's on board. He wants some speed on the outside. Hollywood Brown, 4.27 40. I can see why it's attractive to some. Indeed. Von Miller's contract's interesting, right? And I'm probably going to save that for a video sometime this week, maybe sometime early next week. It's a bit more tight than we think, right? I think our best case scenario is Vaughn retires, but we will see exactly what that's all about. Don't really want him. Neither do I, Marshall. Neither do I. I am away from that. God, no, please don't pinch pennies. We need a Super Bowl ASAP, and Josh won't be young forever. One ring is all the city needs to feel fulfilled for the next 30 years. Spend money, Brandon Bean. Still pissed Bass didn't get MVP. Oh, my God. XO put. Dan, I'm saying prayers for Buffalo to land Myles Garrett. Dude, that is my biggest target. Like, say, for example, that I was the GM of this team, that would be my entire day. So it would be crafting cold emails over to the GM in Cleveland to figure out what we can do to bring this guy onto the squad. He's genuinely the missing piece. And we had a Myles Garrett to this squad. Watch out. I'm feeling very confident about our run in 2025. Would the Browns trade with us to screw their division? F the Ravens, Bengals, and the Steelers. So here's the deal. It's not going to be who the highest bidder is that wins Myles Garrett, right? Because he has a no trade clause. It's going to be the highest bidder of the team that he allows himself to be traded to, right? So I don't think that he's going to go within the division. I do think he's going to stay in the AFC. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and I'll walk that back. I think that Myles Garrett will sign with either the Buffalo Bills and or the Washington Commanders. That is my guess. If we get Garrett or Crosby, then get players on 1 or 2 year contracts, draft well, fill holes, and I think we become the cream of the crop in the AFC. I'll tell you what, Corey, we already are, my friend, already. So do you think the Chiefs will re-sign with the Chiefs? Chiefs will re-sign with the Chiefs. Oh, absolutely, man. It's an absolute lock. I love Coop. Here's the deal. I feel like Coop's not coming back, right? He's not coming back. Because number one, he's never been a free agent before. So the history of his career, he has only been traded. So I think he's interested to go out and actually get a bag from somebody. and be a contributor, I would be happy, like say that he could come back. But the problem with Amari Cooper is that I feel like we'll offer him a deal, but I don't think we'll be anywhere near close to the highest bidder. So I am already just looking at this Buffalo Bills 2025 roster with the mindset of that he's not going so to be on this team. I don't want Kyle's, to be honest, too much money, too long in the damn tooth. Tough Tony. I am going to keep saying this. So we should keep Amari so we still have the route runner and he'll have more chemistry with the offense. If, for example, that like he accepts what Brandon Beane is willing to give him, then sure. But here's the deal. Like I said, I think that he's going bag chasing because he's never been a free agent before. And I just don't see us, first off, being financially feasible to like make him the best possible offer. But I don't know. We're gonna see. Milo is coming in saying, "I'm just being dramatic, by the way. Pinching pennies makes sense. Got to get out of this cap situation. We're getting close. Trade the Browns, Von Miller, where everyone goes to retire. Getting Myles Garrett is a wet dream. It's not going to happen. I wouldn't say that, Hank. As far as like how it looks out, he's affordable. He's not going to cost a lot of money to trade for, and so the draft compensation really isn't as crazy as you think. It's like 2 first-round picks, and when was the last time that Brandon Beane had, like, a game-changing first-round pick? I'm fine with saying goodbye to each and every single one of those for 2 of them, right? And then plus a second. Highly recommend you check out my morning stream. It is already pre-recorded, so you can go ahead and check that out, where we break down Myles Garrett in general. Dan, I meant, and do you think Hollywood Brown will re-sign with the Chiefs? I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe if, like, say that Kansas City is interested. Yeah, I mean, why not? But it's tough. This draft, I'm going to try and see the defense. I don't care no more. Dude, it's all defense for me, bro. It's all defense for me. Like, as cool as like Hollywood Brown's 4.27 40 like looks, I'm good. Like, we can get a solid wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round that has speed. It's all defense, baby. Give me a Philadelphia Eagles defense, and I would love it. I would love to keep Hollywood, but if you guys get him, you are seriously getting a top-notch wide receiver. Yeah, for sure, man. Like, look, like when it comes into Hollywood Brown, folks, we can go ahead and bring this back up. Like, yes, the stats aren't necessarily something that stand out to us, but I think we have a good understanding of how Joe Brady likes to run this offense, right? And that is a bunch of role players at the wide receiver position. Like, we have our 50-50 ball guy, and that is Keon Coleman, right? Like, he was never drafted for the Buffalo Bills to be a wide receiver number 1. We have the route runner in Khalil Shakir. And so the guy with tremendous contact balance, yards after the catch capability. Have Dawson Knox, have Dalton Kincaid as well, who struggled this season, but a lot of it had to do with lack of chemistry with Josh Allen. All we were missing was somebody that was consistent on the outside with speed, right? We were hoping that it would have been Curtis Samuel, and while he did have his share of solid plays here and there this season, I suppose Hollywood Brown for a little bit of cash, $8 million per year on a 2-year deal would be like a boom or bust sort of situation. But honestly, like, we all know that this offense is a ground and pound James Cook and Josh Allen sort of game, right? And we still have Khalil Shakir, who is one of the most slept on slot receivers in the NFL. We'll see. I missed the playoff streams, bro. So you're dunking on fans of opposing teams in here was funny as hell because those fools aren't here, bro. If they're here, I'll dunk on them almost immediately, Milo. Don't worry about that. I'm still here. Bob's still waiting for an ass whooping. It is what it is. Stick around, baby, because I'm sitting here and giving you all the knowledge that you need. We definitely need to re-sign Matt Collins. Dude's a difference maker. He is. He's going to be pretty cheap, too. Isaiah Bond with one of the seconds. Perhaps. Nah. So I like Jalen Royals a lot, and we can get him in the 3rd. I really like Jalen Royals for the 3rd, man. That's my guy, bar none, zero question. Wouldn't even touch a wide receiver until like the 5th round. Yeah, I totally agree. Give me a boom. I trust Josh with anyone. Look at that. Oh my God. Donut Bop. Would Brown take less if he came here since we're Super Bowl contenders? he's really not in much of a position to negotiate, right? Like, dude, like hasn't had a season over 1,000 yards ever, and he's coming off of a pretty significant injury. So it's not so much about like him having any leverage in negotiating, right? I think that this deal for him at $8 million a year is probably like more on the higher side of what I think he could potentially bring in. Like, not unless some team's like desperate and stupid and brings him in, but just sort of how I'm looking at. Just happy the Chiefs got stomped. Tough Tony, Vaughn, and Groot, 2 first-round picks for Miles and Max, which I'm completely fine. I will sign the checkbook right now. I know most are on the trade for Garrett Wagon, but what are your thoughts on trying to get Trey Hendrickson? Steve Noble, have no fear, my friend. And that's why it's very important that each and every single one of you turn those bell notifications on if you are subscribed to the channel, because I'm having an episode dedicated to each and every single trending player that everybody has been wanting the Buffalo Bills to bring in. This morning, I did a Myles Garrett. Like, how would that trade look like? How could the Buffalo Bills get it done? Tomorrow, I am doing a Max Crosby episode. I will be doing a Trey Hendrickson episode. I will be doing a Josh Sweat episode as well, the Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher, who, in my opinion, I thought that he probably should have won. So Super Bowl MVP, like, dude balled, but is what it is. So get ready, because we're going to be having a solid time. Keep Groot. He's still young. Von Miller can go, though. Get his GM experience talent. Noah's coming in saying Taylor Rapp is slow as molasses. He's a hard hitter, though, and he's a strong safety. Like, so you want your free safety to be more of the speedster, right? Like, I'm fine with Taylor Rapp, and I'm also completely fine with Cole Bishop being his backup. Or maybe Cole Bishop ends up beating him out this year. Who knows? Spidey. And we need to get some better backups, too. Honestly, we have the best defense, but if our starters get injured and our backups can't do anything, what is the point? Absolutely. And my friend, I am back from my travels. I'm heading to FedEx tomorrow to send over that Greg Rousseau jersey for you, my boy. Thank you so much for your patience. I am sending over that Rousseau jersey for you mañana, and I will send you over a DM of the tracking information as well. So thank you so much for your patience, man. I'm going to be sending that over to you here shortly. His last 1K season was 2021 with the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, his only 1,000-yard season, too. Rapp is the Levi Wallace of safety. We have Noah is not a Rapp guy, folks. I have heard Max Crosby, but I don't think he wants to leave the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, to be honest with you. What's the most important position we should target in the draft, regardless of what happens in free agency? Most important, I'd probably say, so interior defensive line. Like, we truly need a one tech. And Bean doesn't like those big-bodied, huge DTs like Tavondre Sweat. Like, I really wanted Tavondre Sweat last year, but unfortunately, we just couldn't get it done because Brandon Bean likes both of his defensive tackles to be a bit more athletic. But I would love for him to go against the status quo, and we go up and we get a Walter Nolan, who would be a solid one tech in my opinion. Or so this one defensive tackle out of Kentucky, I completely forget his name. It's Dion something, but he's an absolute mammoth of a dude. I would love to welcome him, but certainly interior defensive line. Help us out with the run, and then also it helps open up a lot of our other opportunities. That's going to be pretty big for me, right? And then afterwards, I'd probably go CB2 would be interesting. I love Azarie Thomas out of Florida State. I'm not sure if he'll be available in the second round, but we shall see. Trent Jones is saying, huge fan since 2018. I love that you were able to open my eyes to Josh Allen's potential early on. Trent Jones, thank you so much for tuning on in, my friend. I appreciate that. Look at that. He's on Facebook watching. He's on Facebook watching us today, guys. Look at that. I am streaming on Facebook as well, folks. We have 175 on YouTube, 245 on X. And we have one of you on Facebook. That's my boy, Trent. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad that I was able to help guide you into what that all was. No to Josh Sweat. And so I live in Philly, Dan, and I can tell you that Josh Sweat had a great game, but he is no stud. Mo is not impressed with Joshua Sweat, folks. Not impressed, but have no fear, guys. We're still going to be unpacking it because it's the off season and I need content and I need to entertain you guys. All right. So we're going to be doing as much as we can. I have heard that. And that was one of the biggest sort of, concerns I have. DK Metcalf is another guy that I could see the Buffalo Bills go after and use the draft to fill defensive holes. DK Metcalf. I got to check something real fast, bro. Let's see, brother. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sick 40. Sick 40, dude. Here, hold up, man. Let me check something out because I might do a video on this like later. Okay. Hold up. I just want to check something real quick. All right. Bro. All right, dude. I'm gonna go on ahead. I'm gonna put this on my board. But like I said, defense is what we need. As great as DK would be for this squad, I'm good at bringing in a wide receiver, man. Fix this defense up. Take a page out of exactly what we saw from the Philadelphia Eagles during the Super Bowl. I think this draft class is to trade up in. Noah is saying, I want Princely out of Ole Miss. Dude would be Mario Williams 2.0. And funny enough, with Mario Williams, he was the last D lineman we had that got over 10 sacks. So it's been a damn minute. I love Princely out of Ole Miss. I was actually able to watch him work out during the Senior Bowl. Absolute stud. I'll tell you who else I like. Shamar Stewart, right out of Texas A&M. He, in my opinion, was the most impressive edge rusher that I saw in practice. Was him. Him and Mike Green, stud. But I don't see Mike Green falling to us by any stretch of the imagination. And then again, I'm still kind of iffy about rolling the dice again on another edge rusher because it hasn't been doing us any favors. Seattle won't move DK. I think a realistic option is Alec Pierce. Never had a solid quarterback. Good size and great. Sorry, y'all. Holy hell, man. All right, we need a safety and a corner. I totally agree. DK would be a cheat code for this offense. I know it would be sexy, but listen, we so desperately need some defense here. Oh my God. Derek Harmon, Myles Garrett, game over. Good God. All right, folks. I just wanted to come on here for a brief second. All right. Nice little 30-minute stream at 5:15 p.m. EST. Again, Hollywood Brown, not particularly a fan. I don't think that we necessarily need to pay the money to address the wide receiver position. I think that we could completely revert exclusively over to the draft. Like Hollywood has only had 1,000 yards his entire season. He's coming off of a massive knee injury. And he'd cost about $8 million a year. And currently we're at about $14 million over the cap when it comes into it. So that's my take on Hollywood Brown. I'm going to pass on that, but who knows? Like my buddy on the Instagram comment said, he said, it makes no sense at all, which makes me feel like we're going to do it. I don't know. Let's make it happen. And then shout out to everybody. We need to be like the Eagles and hit on draft picks. Totally agree with you there, Brent. Totally agree with you there. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Dom Mafia Live. Shout out again to William Matar. If you're hurt in a car, you better call William Matar. And we will see you tomorrow morning for my episode of what a trade for Max Crosby would look like. Don't miss out on that. Subscribe and turn on bell notifications. Deuces.